Thanks for joining us today. We wanted to take some time to go over why we decided to open our own RIA firm as a fee-only Walkner Condon financial advisory firm in Madison, Wisconsin, and what options people have if they're looking at making a move.
That's right. I mean, we're going to go through a little bit about our own backgrounds and then, a few different mistakes, good and bad things that went along the way as we learned. And we've been through almost every type of structure. So hopefully if you're considering the leap to consider independence or opening your own RIA or joining another one, this will give you a little bit of background on what you may want to consider.
Yeah, between insurance companies, broker-dealers, wirehouses, hybrids, whatever else I'm leaving out, there's a myriad of choices. Why did we choose RIA, and then why did we move to fee-only RIA for our firm, Clint?
Well, I think it was really limiting conflict of interest and deciding that we wanted to focus more on wealth management and financial planning versus product sales. There's a lot of good products out there. I would say that no product is good or bad. It's just that some of them are used improperly and some are used very properly. And we wanted to get on the side where we wanted to be a fiduciary for all of our clients. So when we first opened the firm, we decided to stay fee-based and keep a little fixed insurance for our licenses. And then since then, we've dropped all our insurance licenses, and now we just have our Series 66 or 65, depending on who's in here. We just chose to go that direction. So we're totally fee-only right now. We take no insurance commissions, no investment commissions, no nothing. And I think it's a really freeing experience that we have when you decide to take that leap, and it's been nice for our firm.
I think that's one of the questions that we get most often is, okay, what do you do with some of this business that you have on the books, and don't you wish you could take some commission or could get a little bit of extra revenue that way? And I think for us it made the most sense because holding yourself out as one clean kind of registration / standard of care was really the best choice for us. And in our opinion, it's the best choice in the industry. Obviously a biased view, but that's how we feel.
Yeah, I think that we're seeing that the regulation is going that direction, and whether it happens, next year in 2019 or whether it happens in 2024, at some point we're probably going to see a more uniform fiduciary standard, and we feel we're a little bit in front of that right now. Maybe the industry bifurcates itself, and that's probably how I'd like to see it, where you have commission-based brokers called one thing, and then you have true fiduciaries called another thing, and the people that wear both hats are forced more to the commission-based side and then the fee side. But we'll see how that all shakes out. Regardless, we as a firm believe that having that fiduciary standard is inherently very important for all of our clients, and they're better off because of it.
Yeah, so let's talk just briefly about our background. So just cumulatively, and then we'll speak to kind of some of the points. Between the two of us, we've had an affiliation with a life insurance company, 3 broker-dealers.
Let's see. Well, Financial Network, right?
It was CUNA before that.
Well, it was CUNA before that. So I got to UW Credit Union Investment Services when they were making a transition from CUNA to Financial Network. Right. So I was never registered with CUNA.
Right, okay.
But I dealt with a bunch of paperwork, right? So going from CUNA to Financial Network, which is now Cetera, Financial Network, we moved to Securities America.
Right.
And then we were going to leave from Securities America to go to LPL. We were in discussions there at UW Credit Union. We were in the middle of those discussions before we kind of parachuted out of that and started our own firm.
Yeah, so our experience is not unlike a lot of advisors in the industry, where you're kind of through no decision of yours necessarily, kind of put through these transitions, put through these changes, and it's not exclusive to broker dealers. While wirehouses kind of have a different path, it doesn't mean that they're without changes to their structure, comp plans. Encouraged, I guess, if you want to call it that, to cross-sell other products and other lines of business and things like that. That is one of the main reasons why RIA, in our opinion, is the best place to be. We ridded ourselves of those requirements and those encouragements by the people above us, and independence is incredibly liberating.
Yeah, exactly. We never truly owned our own clients, right? And with a lot of the brokerage houses too, that's kind of the similar thing. We had some of our guys come from Merrill, Mitch and Jonathan in our business here and they came from Maryland, you never really truly own the clients. You kind of own the relationship, but Mother Merrill or Morgan Stanley or any of these other places kind of own the clients. And where we were at, we are in a quasi-independent state, right? We didn't really technically own the client. The financial institution did. There are some hurdles to come across with non-solicits and non-competes, but overall, that was the main reason why we left, was really that we wanted to be independent and own our client relationships that we had, so that we didn't have anybody telling us how to run our own business.
Yeah, I think the independence piece of running an RIA is the hardest to explain to people that aren't on the RIA side, because honestly, it just kind of almost doesn't make sense to certain people. You almost get that kind of deer in the headlights look when you talk about it, because by eliminating the kind of some of the regulatory oversight that doesn't exist on a pure RIA side, you're allowed to operate in a way where you feel like there's less restriction. You feel like you can do things in a more efficient manner, to say nothing of what it means for the client's benefit.
That's right. And I just think that when we were wearing two different hats, you're wearing that commission-based hat and your fee-based hat and going back and forth, I think that it's not ideal for the client. Let's just say that. They know that they're paying something. They just want to know what that is. And if you can be transparent about that, and not have to give so many different conflicts of interest out there, I think it gives them the best experience as a client. And speaking from our side, I would say that it's not about lack of regulation. We have plenty of regulation, but it's a different type of regulation. We have the state auditors that came in, and soon it'll be the SEC. And so they do a great job, but they want to make sure that we're doing what's in our client's best interest, and we can select the software packages and things like that allow us to do the job in the best of our abilities. And so having that sort of open architecture is really important versus a closed architecture that some of these firms have.
Yeah, it really gives us the freedom of movement, for lack of a different way to explain it. The ability to say we're going to run money the way we want to run it. We can run financial plans the way we want to run them. We can change from one financial planning software package to another one. We can do things on social media. We can do podcasts and videos and things like that. And have that freedom to know that we can almost speak directly to our clients in different mediums, as opposed to having everything filtered the way I think it was in our former life.
Yeah, I mean, the compliance things too. It would be impossible to have a podcast done in our former life. I mean,
right.
And it's not saying that, again, it's not saying we don't have regulation, but I think it gives us a bit more flexibility, and it allows us to kind of run that firm and be a small firm and do the things that we need to do, that are, in our view, very accretive to our client relationship. They're in much better spot because we can communicate in many different facets and go into things that are more long form for them in blog posts and podcasts, where if they want to understand a topic, we can simply get here and explain in 20 minutes what we mean, rather than wasting time in a meeting doing that, where we could get totally sidetracked.
Yeah, and we can speak to a much broader kind of subset of our clients, as opposed to just speaking one-on-one to every single client, when the market decides to go, a certain way, or if a news cycle kind of runs and it's, what does this mean for me? We could talk to a lot of people at the same time. Let's switch gears a little bit and go back to when we opened the firm. Let's talk about some mistakes.
How many software packages do we still have when we first started the firm? I mean, I think we would replace literally every software package.
At least once.
Yes, we've been through multiple CRMs. We've been through different financial planning softwares, and all along the way. I mean, I feel like we made upgrades.
Right.
Some things you can't afford when you first open the firm.
Right.
Some things just didn't provide the level of service or exactly what you wanted. So, kind of antiquated systems. And once you go to these web-based systems that are all in the cloud, everything changes then. And then integrations into your custodian. So, when you start an RIA, you go out and you vet custodians. So we looked at, Schwab and Fidelity and TD Ameritrade. And now there are a bunch of others out there. There's Apex. You could look at doing that motif investing and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of different custodians that you can consider. So we chose TD Ameritrade as our custodian. And they have a very open API, meaning that we can select basically a whole bunch of technology that now integrates with TD Ameritrade's platform, and the data freely moves back and forth, which is great. So we've had a bunch of technology hurdles to overcome, and that was one of the main things that we have changed and made mistakes on, and hopefully corrected. And we're very happy about our tech stack right now. But when you open an RIA, you're drinking from the fire hose, because you never had that. You had it selected from the broker-dealer side for you, and you had very few choices. So what's another mistake that you think we've made so far?
Well, let's see. We're in year 7, right, of the firm. Yeah. And so kind of going back to year 1, year 2, I don't know whether I would call it a mistake as much as I would call it the amount of time it took to figure out certain things, right? And then we kind of joke, although it's not a joke, it is the case. To come up with the way that we brand ourselves now is Comfortably Unique literally took years to put those two words together, and the number of pitches that we swung at trying to get that to feel the right way was it's got to be in the teens, I would assume, at least.
It took us so many hours. So many hours. Yeah.
That I think is what people don't necessarily understand when they look at opening their own firm is all of the decisions that you have to make, and all of the decisions that you have to make in real time, and at the speed at which you have to make them. And I think that's a hard thing for people to get their arms around, because the decisions don't come in the same size. They don't come at the same pace, right? So you're making one small decision, and then an hour later you're making a massive decision. And then an hour later, you're making kind of a big decision, and then you're back to making a small decision. I mean, it's the number of decisions you have to make, and the number of them that you have to get right, so that you don't have to go backwards and do it again. And I think one of the biggest advantages that you and I had is just the fact that there's 2 of us and not one person.
Absolutely.
And I think if you're trying to open a solo shop, wow, honestly, good luck, because you and I had a hard time figuring out all the things we needed to figure out. And that's with 2 of us with different aptitudes, meaning that we could specialize in different areas and we could split work up differently. And we still had many mistakes, many, things we would do differently if we could, to say nothing of the amount of time, money, and energy spent kind of figuring out that we had made a mistake and that we now need to go backwards and fix it.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, think about Nate was very good at the real estate aspect of it, getting our lease done, getting the build out done. He had a unique background there. We both were very competent and still competent financial planners. We both know how to run financial plans and things like that. I specialize a little more on the investment management side. I do a lot of the marketing. Nate does a lot of the operations. So that, and then compliance and all of that together. So it is a difficult and onerous task to be able to do that, especially if you're looking at making that leap, having your clients follow us. So when Jonathan joined us, he just really plugged in, and he to this day hasn't touched a piece of paperwork, because we have other people doing that, whether it's Nate, myself, Mitch pitches in. We had some admin staff when he was coming over too, so he helped. Kevin that used to be with us. So, all these different resources that you can plug into. So, if we had to do it all over again, I don't know. Maybe we would have plugged into a more progressive firm, technologically speaking, and where we might be able to have some office space. If I had to do it all over again, I think I'd give strong consideration to joining an existing RIA rather than just learn it all by yourself. And now I've had to teach myself a whole bunch of stuff, and you the same way, about digital marketing and SEO and all those things. And don't take my word for it. Type in financial advisor Madison, Wisconsin, and see whether Walkner Condon comes up on the first page, and I'll tell you what, it does. And to get on the first page is incredibly difficult. You got to spend a ton of time putting into resources and time and making sure that you are showing up well on searches, and a lot of people search for you.
Well, I think that's what gets glossed over. The thousands of dollars, the hundreds of hours, and just the knowledge itself that it takes to even just build what we would consider to be a good website. Not even a great website, just a good website is beyond what most people have a scope for. And it's because they they see an option that says, oh, kind of here's a turnkey out of the box, kind of website. There we go. I'm opening a firm. That's what I need. What you don't realize is that with no SEO behind it, with no optimization behind it, basically you're going to be on the third page of a Google search. When's the last time anybody's gone to the third page of a Google search searching for anything, right? And so plugging in as opposed to trying to do it on your own, I don't know. I mean, if I had to think back on it, I think the ignorance is bliss for the two of us worked out. Knowing now what we know, I don't know. I think we probably would have plugged in somewhere.
I mean, you're talking about 7 years later too. The whole landscape has kind of changed.
Right.
You are seeing the RIA landscape. I do believe that firms like ours, if we were just a 2-person shop instead of a 4-person shop and growing now, I don't know whether you can survive being a small firm against these larger and larger firms. I think you're just going to continually see these firms get bigger. And I think what we're able to offer that other firms are not is a path to partnership, ownership. We really feel strongly that the people that join us, we want them to be part of our family and not kind of a silo shop with an office down the way where you're just doing your own business. I think you could do that at a broker dealer, just fine if you want to have your own shingle and your own side shop. But, I think that we have a unique value proposition here. And, for those of you that are considering independence, I mean, I think everybody should be independent. I think you should try to own your own clients and your own relationships. But I think you strongly should consider, looking at different RIAs to join with to help you out there and then see what you need. I mean, some people make it rain money from the sky. But that might not necessarily be the right type of firm that you'd want to consider. It might be, is that path to partnership and ownership, is that more important to you than having it rain money short term for yourself? So
yeah, I mean, those things never come without strings, right? And that's I think
exactly
what people don't realize is there's a lot of strings attached to that money that rains from the sky, and you better understand every implication of what that means. We get the question from a lot of people of how big do we want to have the firm be ultimately? Our answer to that question is always the same. As big as we can make it while still retaining the right people and the right talent and the right people to kind of see the vision that we see. And that doesn't mean that we'll have 20. It means that we'll have whatever that number is that's the right number. So we're always looking, but that doesn't mean we're always looking to try to get to 50 more advisors under our shop.
Yeah, we don't want bodies. We want career-oriented people that
Right.
care for their clients. So it's a different type of thing. So, well, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen to us, to give a little more take on RIAs. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. And if you'd like to reach out and meet Nate and myself and consider your own journey to independence and joining an RIA, we'd welcome that conversation.